The first thing you'll do during a sound check is adjust the gain. You adjust the gain in a couple different ways, but the primary way that you would do it would be the rotary kind of spinny knob here at the top of each fader. This thing here will select other options that this rotary dial would do. So you need to make sure that you're on gain. And then as I go up and down, you see those little ticks of the screen. That's lowering or raising the gain. The gain is a sort of volume function that we have to set depending on our source volume. So if it's a loud snare drum, we would have a pretty low gain needed. If it's a quiet kind of whispering presenter, we would need to make up for their lack of volume by raising our gain. If we want to zoom in on the specific channel, we hit the green select button right there, and that will pull up this entire panel of detailed options. If we go to preamp, that's where we're going to focus in on the gain functions. Within the preamp, our main functions we're going to be looking at will be pad and gain. And if you look there, as I do this one that we talked about earlier, this rotary dial, you'll see that decibel gain changing right along with me. There's another gain deal that's called a pad. I'm going to go to 20 dB here on this gain. If I remove, or actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to 0. If I remove the pad, that raises my gain 20 dB. The pad is just like an aggressive volume or gain suppressor that you could throw on a very loud source. For handheld 4 today, we'll just kind of leave the pad off, and my gain there is at 20. My trim is another function of gain that you guys probably don't need to know too much about. We probably are just going to keep that at 0. So now let's actually go ahead and set up the gain that we want for this handheld 4. Again, I've selected with my green button what I want to see here. When I do the round guy down here, the PAFL, that's going to allow me to meter up here on this little meter handheld 4's volume. And it's going to help me set the gain for this input. So I have handheld 4 here, and I'm talking into it. You guys can't see me talking in, but you can see me register with my gain. We have it both here, and we have it here as an option as well. So let's go ahead and kind of focus in up on this one. And as I am spinning that dial that we talked about earlier, I'm going to go ahead and focus my gain in so that my loudest parts are right around 0, where we see this thing, 0 is actually up here. 0 is not at the bottom. 0 or unity. If I get a little louder, my loudest parts are just barely flaring into that kind of yellow amber tone. And so that's why we ask our musicians or our stage presenters to kind of give us a realistic or loud volume when we're doing sound check, so that we can really dial in these gains. It's really important during sound check to get that gain dialed in right. So I'm gonna just barely get that kind of on a greenish amber like I talked about, and I feel good about where I'm at now. So I'm done with my gain part of this instrument or this input during sound check. There's one more thing to note within our gain section of the video, and it's this 48V button, 48 volts of power, or sometimes called phantom power. It says hold. You can't just click it. You have to press and hold for it to engage, press and hold for it to engage that function. Now, you're probably wondering, when do we use that? You'll kind of learn as you get more reps what stuff needs the 48 volts. For the most part, these scenes should already be loaded up with the correct 48 volt setting. Most things don't need it, but if you're trying to mix like a cajon and they've got the mic plugged in, the cable and all that, but you're not getting any signal at all, it's because that mic needs power. It's kind of a weird deal. So that's what makes me realize, I better try 48 volts because nothing else is getting me any signal from that microphone. Along with like a cajon mic, we might have some direct boxes that need a little bit of phantom power, or the bass guitar needs phantom power, that 48 volt. So it's important that when you're adding that, to have things muted. It can sometimes give kind of a burst, a pretty loud noise into the system as it jolts that power through. So just make sure you're muted if you need to add 48 volts of phantom power.